Thank you for your patience. As we waited for the family, we are gathered together to remember, to mourn, and to celebrate the life of Miguel Sanchez-Tortoledo, class of 2023. Miguel was born in August of 2001 and died less than 2 weeks before his 20th birthday in August of this year, after a brief and intense bout with cancer. Many who knew him began this academic year with a huge sense of loss, and we are grateful to hear remarks from them tonight on behalf of all of us. We welcome Miguel's mother, Juana, his little brother, Sebastian, and other members of his family, Julio and Jonathan, who arrived here yesterday after a long trip from California. We're so grateful that you could be with us, and grateful that you can bring remarks, and as well to hear members of our community express their sincere condolences and warm remembrances and loving memories of Miguel. An informal reception with the family will be held in the Mitchell Green Lounge at McCullough immediately following this service, if anyone would like to speak personally to the family. We want to acknowledge that we are also joined by those viewing in Wilson Hall and others remotely. All are welcome. I'm Mark Orton, interim chaplain of the college and dean of spiritual and religious life and director of the Scott Center. Briefly, it is my duty to bring you the announcements that this service and all the time that we're indoors, except while speaking, please note that the COVID-19 protocols for the college are in effect, including wearing face coverings and maintaining appropriate distancing regardless of vaccination status. Accessible bathrooms are located across Hepburn Road behind me in Proctor Dining Hall, and exits are located at the rear of the chapel and behind me to my right. It is my honor to be here in a presiding role, and it must be acknowledged with unending gratitude the gracious service rendered by our facility staff, media services, events planning, and various office administrators who so diligently serve Middlebury College and have done so in this case respectfully in honor of Miguel. With those acknowledgements duly made, it is right and fitting for us on this cool November evening to pause and to pay our respects to this vibrant person, so dear to us, whose all too brief life left us with indelible memories of an unsparing zest for living. So now let us invoke his presence and remember him. I invite President Lori Patton to come and bring her remarks at this time.
Good evening. Often when I speak at a Middlebury memorial service, I'm speaking about a person whom we've known at the college for decades, who served here over a long tenure or who graduated years ago. I can reflect on a life fully lived and try in my own way to offer some perspective on their gifts and how they were shared over the course of a lifetime with Middlebury and the world. Today is different. Today we mourn a young man we had the opportunity to know and love, but not for decades. We're gathered here together to remember, to love, to miss, and to celebrate an exceptional person whom we lost suddenly and too soon, Miguel Sanchez-Tortoledo, a young man whom we all agree was deeply cared for, adored, appreciated, talented, a leader who was embraced by all who knew him and who was just getting started on sharing his gifts with the world. I have two powerful memories of Miguel. The first was when he came to help out with handing out candy and hot cider and cocoa on a rainy Halloween night. He was an instant hit. People surrounded him and children wanted candy from him and him alone, not anyone else. And then there was a quiet moment for us in the Halloween rush. We spoke at length about his plans and his hopes for being at Middlebury. He was filled with ideas, particularly for his role on the Senate. I said to a colleague later that I felt as if I was talking to someone who was 40, not 19, and that I promised him and myself that I would run his presidential campaign, not for Middlebury, bigger president. The second was during my office hours when Miguel came with a proposal to make Thanksgiving week an entire week of break. It's fitting that we commemorate him about the same time now, right before that week, and the holiday he cared so much about as a time of rest. He came to me not just with a great idea that he wanted to help on, which many students do. He came with reports of his focus groups of students, several. He came with surveys of other colleges and what they do that he himself conducted. He came with sophisticated arguments, and he also presented me with his communications plan. Most importantly, he didn't lecture or judge. He said, I know there are many things I haven't thought of, and I'd like your help on making this idea even better. After Miguel and I met that day, I said to the same colleague I spoke to after I met Miguel at Halloween, hey, remember that student I said that seemed like he was about 40? I'd say he's more like 60. He's an old soul. We have lost an old soul, a leader with heart, someone who faced his illness with extraordinary optimism and courage. Anyone who was connected with Miguel on Instagram could be inspired by him every day. When faced with such a loss, it's hard to know where to turn for perspective. Many of us seek answers through conversations with and contemplation on the divine, on God, however we may understand that mystery. And we may also turn to nature, to meditation, to ancient texts or new writings for comfort and strength. I've gotten to know the writing of Faith Fuller Wilcox, and I have shared the news of that book with the Sanchez-Tortoledo family tonight, just as we met before walking up to this service. Faith Wilcox lost her daughter to cancer at 14, and she turned to writing to chronicle her grief. In one of her books, she writes that as she was sharing her grief with a friend, she remembered that Elizabeth, her daughter, loved the sea. And she told her friend that Elizabeth loved the sea. Her friend responded to her in a way that didn't make any logical sense, but that gave her great comfort. Her friend said, "And now the sea loves Elizabeth." And as I think about that story of unbearable loss, of losing a young person to cancer, I think about Miguel in the same way. Miguel loved life. And so now, and still, and forever, life loves him. Miguel loved Middlebury, and now Middlebury loves him. Those many he brought love to, the people gathered here today in body and elsewhere in spirit, have his love and the joy he shared forever with them. Now it is our turn to share his love and his spirit with others. What greater legacy could there be? To Miguel's family, who is here with us tonight, his mother, Juana, who has had the strength to share her tears with us today, his uncle Julio, his cousin Jonathan, and his brother Sebastian, who has also had the strength to share his tears with us today. No, Middlebury has mourned and will continue to mourn with you. Thank you for allowing us to get to know Miguel and to love him and to call him one of our own. May we keep his memory forever in our hearts and allow his voice to speak through us. Miguel loved life, and so now, still and forever, life loves Miguel. Miguel loved Middlebury, and now Middlebury loves him.
God, it's so hard. Hello, my name is Juana, Miguel's mom. Sorry. It's so hard for me. I just want to thank all of you guys, everybody that loved my son, and then everybody that is here, all his friends. And my son loved this place. He loved this college. He always wanted to just come before anything, like before the time he had to come. And it's so hard for me to be here like this now that he's gone. But when I came the first time to the first year that he was here, I came to help him move in. I cried those 2 days because I was leaving him all the way over here from California to Los Angeles to so far. I was just crying and crying. And now I'm here back. I'm crying because he's not here anymore. But I know there's a lot of people that loved him here. And I thank all of you guys for being here with me, with this pain that I have. And my son was the best. And I know he's here with us now. He's with me and with all of you guys that loved him. Thank you so much for everything. And I'll have you guys always in my heart. Thank you. You wanna say something?
First off, I wanted to thank the faculty and the School of Middlebury for making this happen. Mark, Lauren, appreciate you guys having this come out. We feel like family coming out here, and we basically wanted to say, thank you for putting this together. This is a beautiful thing. We all love Mike and Miguel very much, and we miss them very much. Most importantly, he loved this place very much. I mean, he couldn't wait to be here every single semester he was in. And Michael was one of a kind, so it's hard to replace someone like him. All we could do is remember all the good things that we lived with him and keep them in our hearts. I know that I will forever. He impacted every one of us differently. But again, thank you guys for making this happen. This is a very beautiful thing, and thank you again.
Hi, I'm Linus. I teach sociology, and I was Miguel's advisor, and I taught him in a couple of classes last year. Perhaps unlike everyone else speaking tonight, I never actually met Miguel in person. And it's a testament to the strength and power of his personality that I feel like, despite that, I feel like I got to know him over the past year, and I feel confident and, in fact, compelled to share my experiences with you tonight. I'm going to tell a short story with 3 acts to cover the 3 semesters that I had classes with Miguel, and to think about a story of something lost, that Miguel helped me find, and then the loss of Miguel, and then what I can try and find, and maybe we can find through that. I mean, the pandemic was really made life hard for all of us. For me, compared to a lot of people, I fared pretty well, but the most serious loss I felt was the loss of the classroom. As I'm probably displaying right now, I'm not super comfortable in real life. I struggle with social anxiety, and the classroom's kind of the only space I don't feel stressed. It's the only place I feel like I'm at home. So when we started teaching remotely, and ironically, when I started actually teaching from home, it wasn't great. I struggled. Teaching, which had once been this way to like feel connected to the world, felt awkward and strained and stressful. Gazing out at black boxes and blank stares on a Zoom screen, I had no idea whether I was reaching anyone at all. That I usually looked for in class weren't there. And all the work that went into teaching was the same as under normal circumstances, but it lacked the feedback and connection that normally kind of comes back and makes it all feel inspiring or invigorating rather than draining. After a little bit of remote teaching, I started to worry that maybe I was just a brain in the vat, teaching into a void. That's how I noticed Miguel. I made a dumb joke, I think, in our sociology class, and he'd smile. Everyone's mic was muted, so the only way to kind of get any sense of anything was through the visual, and Miguel's overwhelming expressiveness just embodied a kind of active engagement that was so hard to find in Zoom, but so easy to find with him. Over the course of the semester, his presence in the class grew, but not just through his participation, but through his work, his writing, his points in discussion. I could see or get a sense that the material and maybe even the teacher was actually reaching him. And just as importantly, I got a sense that he was reaching back to the material, making it useful for him, that he didn't just want to know and understand the causes of social problems, he wanted to fix them. When he came to me in office hours and told me he wanted to be a sociology major and asked me to be his advisor, I was happy to accept. Felt like the beginning of something, and I was excited. At the end of the fall, I met with all my students to discuss their final grade. At our meeting, Miguel showed up and enthusiastically proclaimed that he thought he should get an A+. He explained not just that he'd learned a lot and he'd worked really hard, but that his main reason was this: he had made the most of it. By using the class to explore his own questions and experiences, using his own questions and experiences to engage the class, he had indeed, I thought, made the most of it. It was really hard to argue with his logic. Last spring, Miguel was in my urban sociology class, eager to learn more about how cities work, or don't work, as the case may be. But it wasn't long into the semester that Miguel had to return home to start treatment. Despite this upheaval, Miguel worked hard to keep up, to come to class whenever possible. Even as he was undergoing treatment, he kept an eye on his future, and we planned the classes he would take this fall. The semester ended on a note of optimism. Vaccines promised to return to the classroom. Miguel successfully completed his classwork, and he'd wrapped up the first stage of his treatment, and it all looked like it was a big success. The last message I got from him early this summer was sharing news of his progress and included a picture of him smiling in the hospital, surrounded by happy, friendly medical staff. We talked of seeing each other in class soon. This fall, I was eager to actually meet so many of the students I taught last year, especially Miguel, but I never got that chance. The first day of our social theory class should have felt joyous, a wonderful group of sociology majors and enthusiasts coming together in a shared classroom. It was such a big step forward from the year before. But despite being in a classroom that was too small for all the students, the crowded room felt empty. There were not enough chairs. The real problem is there were not enough students. Miguel was missing. He was missed. He is missed. To teach at a college like this is to experience the ongoing joys of connecting with students, but it's also to know that most of those connections are temporary and they'll be gone soon. Classes end, semesters wrap up, students graduate. Almost all the connections we make will eventually end in a feeling of loss. But it's only through that loss and the pain of losing Miguel that it's only painful. I only know that pain because I was able to get to know him and connect to him in the ways that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. So standing here, I'm trying to find strength in this moment and remember how even in a remote classroom, Miguel could be fully present. How even in the face of all the challenges of last spring, he fought to remain present in a class so far and yet so close to him. And I remember how his absence this fall continues to be a presence for me and the others who knew him. Finally, I'll remember that, like Miguel, when given an opportunity, I hope that I'm there and able to make the most of it. Thank you.
It's an honor, take the mask off. It's an honor to be here at Middlebury College, honoring Miguel. I was his supervisor at Student Financial Services for too brief a period of time. I soon learned he was a quintessential Middlebury student who loved Middlebury College. He often said that. And it was clear based on his interaction with students in our office, they loved him back. I met Miguel for the first time when I was almost late for an interview. I couldn't find a parking space, and I was super nervous. And the first person I saw in the office was Miguel. He had this goofy smile, and he immediately made me feel at ease with myself. He had that way about him. Just an open friendliness. I could really use him about now, to tell you the truth. Miguel had also recently started his job at Student Financial Services, so we both grew into our roles together. In fact, he had more of a job knowledge of our office than I did at first, and he made many suggestions. Some of them very practical, others not. And what I learned, it's very hard to say no to Miguel. And I have to say, sorry, Adam and Eric, he was my favorite student. He had a curiosity about things, and he would make suggestions on how we could do things better. He was the king of Google Docs. While the students had their own to-do folder, Miguel had his own to-do folder, and I still have it to this day. He was somebody I relied on. I was new to the job, and he really recognized that, and he would call me and say, "John, do you need extra help? I could come in on Wednesday. I see you need help on Wednesday." And that really meant a lot to me. He realized I was at sometimes struggling, and he meant a lot. I also learned how passionate he was. Just being a Middlebury student, whether it's the Senate, student government, he always gave 110%. I really didn't realize how he had time for class with all the things he was doing. Parties, planning parties from start to finish, and everything. I have to laugh. Remember him cornering Dan Diator in our office, shares an office with us, and he asked them, "Why don't we have Ben & Jerry's ice cream at Middlebury College?" And it's hard to say no to Miguel, so Dan didn't say no. He's like, "I'll look into it." And I believe they just said, "You do have Ben & Jerry's." He advocated for higher wages for students, and he was much like you said, he provided a whole presentation as to why students should be earning more income at their positions. He always presented his ideas in a kind and thoughtful manner. I remember his true excitement when snow was packed down on the ground to go sled riding. And he said, I really want to go sled riding, but I don't have a sled. So a few of us in our staff made some suggestions on how he could procure one. I won't say how. It might get us in trouble. And I could see the gleam in his eye. And I wish I could have been there when he was sliding down that hill. He was a true friend as well. Eric and Adam, he lobbied hard for them to get positions at Middlebury College. And guess what? You don't say no to Miguel. And knowing who Miguel was, I could honestly say if he's recommending them, they're going to be awesome, and they are awesome. And in fact, they are still working for us, of course, today, so they are Miguel's legacy to our office. I really miss Miguel, his many activities and plans, whether it's being a finalist at the AT&T Challenge or regional leader as a Cutco representative. Also, it was hard to say no. For his Cutco presentation, I did buy some various knives. In closing, I really miss Miguel, his warm smiles, his sense of humor, his goofy laugh. We had a lot of laughs, in fact, sometimes too loudly, I was told. But most of all, he had an engaging personality, an energy, and an advocacy to always do what's right. Miguel reminds me that it's not what you take when you leave this world, that it is what you leave behind. And Miguel will be duly missed. Thank you.
I don't know what I did in my life to be lucky enough to assign Miguel as my freshman year roommate. The pairing didn't really make much sense. I'm super shy, and we all know Miguel was not. I'm generally a soft speaker, and second to Eric Burchill, Miguel was probably the loudest person I've ever known. When I arrived at Middlebury, I listened to mostly My Chemical Romance and All Time Low. Miguel knew every Taylor Swift and Lady Gaga song by heart. And living with him for 2 years, eventually so did I. What we had in common was probably just our height. But for some reason, I ended up in Stu 419 with Miguel Sanchez-Tortoledo, the kindest, most considerate, most outgoing person I've ever been lucky enough to know. Within months, I thought of Miguel as a brother. I will say, though, it took a while to adjust. By week 2 at mid, if I left Stu 4 with Miguel, we'd run into almost 50 people who he knew by name and life story. Most of you probably remember me as the guy standing next to Miguel who never said hi. Again, I'm sorry, I'm shy. I swear I'm not mean. But it was a blessing, though. I can honestly attribute most of my friendships to Miguel, whether I was with him or not. There was a period of freshman year where my typical introduction went something along the lines of, "Hi, I'm Adam, I'm roommates with Miguel," because I knew it would get a positive response. That's the thing about Miguel. Everyone loved him. I mean, I'd see him talk to just about anyone and everyone, but I didn't realize how far it extended until one night around 2 a.m. at the grill, and I miss 2 a.m. grill. Miguel wanted a refill on his Pepsi. By the way, I never heard the end of him being mad that we're not a Coca-Cola school. But he wanted a refill, And so he walked up to the counter, he said hi to some of the cooks and the cashiers, and he refilled his own cup before walking right back to our table. And I was blown away the first time, but he did it like 2 more times that night. I have a video of it, I'll show you guys if you don't believe it. But he got away with it because they loved him so much. The same was true anywhere he went. At the Office of Student Financial Services, they loved him so much they essentially let him take over hiring. And I got a job out of it too, which is pretty cool, as did Eric. And we're trying to uphold that legacy right now. But I never really understand quite how he did it. Miguel was just such a unique person. He was the biggest personality combined with the biggest heart. He won us all over. He was our friend, our senator, and really our leader in a lot of ways. And I'm lucky enough to be able to say that he was my best friend. A few days before Miguel went into his coma, he sent me this friendship lamp thing. It's one of those things where you touch it and the person who has the other one lights up on their side too. It's really corny, but it was really nice. And we never got a chance to set them up. And when I heard about his coma, I kept it on my nightstand, and it's still on my desk right now. And I found myself looking at it every few minutes, begging for it to light up. And I was never so lucky. But it's a bit of a symbol, I think, to who Miguel was. He was a light to all of us, someone who brightened up every day with endless positivity and love. And even if we're never again so lucky to experience that, I don't think any of us will ever forget it. Even gone, Miguel's light will never fade from our lives. It will remain in our hearts forever. Thank you.
Part of what makes talking about Miguel so difficult is that there are truly no words or moments that fully capture the joy he brought people or the care he showed toward everyone. The obvious parts that make it difficult to talk about him is that we've lost the kindest, most sincere, warm-hearted human being that I will ever meet. Every now and then, I read Miguel and I's texts. There's a lot of, OMG, I have no idea what's going on in this class. And my response, same. Most of the time, it's lighthearted banter, casual, funny. Other times, we talk about quote-unquote deep shit. How he misses school, how he hates the hospital, how treatment is tough. But every time, he ends the texts or calls asking how I'm doing. How are my classes? How are my friends? How's my mom? I can't encapsulate Miguel's generosity and care through just a couple of anecdotes. But to those of you who knew him, you probably never left a conversation without him making you smile or asking you how you are. Last spring, Miguel and I's breakfast routine began with him entering the quiet side room of Proc with echoing laughter. It felt almost like people wanted to get annoyed at someone making so much noise at 9 in the morning, but hearing Miguel's laugh made you forget about whatever professor you were annoyed at or paper you were dreading to write. I could go on about the dance parties we had, the long FaceTime calls where we'd stay on just because we had nothing better to do. But none of the stories can live up to Miguel's true personality and character. So with that, I'll keep it short and say rest easy, Miguel. You were a wonderful person, and I know for a fact that many of us here will never forget your beautiful smile or uplifting laughter. We won't forget your cheerful presence or your Taylor Swift playlists. We love you, Miguel.
Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Eduardo Heyer, but everyone calls me Eddie. I will do my speech in English first, then Spanish, so bear with me. I was one of Miguel's closest friends. I was his favorite FYC, which is what he would tell everyone when he would introduce me. I always loved that because we never grew out of addressing each other that way. Miguel was and will always be my resident. I remember his first day moving in. The hall was empty, and we were one of the few people there. He lived in front to the right of me. And I welcomed him that day. We probably talked about 2 to 3 hours, and it was that day that our tradition started. For the next year, he would always come into my room and sit on my couch and just chat. If there's anything about Miguel, it's that he was not a quiet person. He was a bundle of joy. We would sometimes grab 7 a.m. breakfast because he was always a busy guy, but because he wanted to make the school better for future generations. One of his bills on our SGA meeting was to introduce water bottle stations in first-year dorms, and I hope we can get to that before we graduate. This time, his strength and his will did not reach Miguel. He went on vacation sooner than he wanted. That is where he referred cancer to me. A strong man raised in adversity. He's a clear example of overcoming an effort, self-taught, hardworking, lover of sunsets and his family. This early departure leaves us with bitter taste, and it would be very difficult to overcome this absence. I always felt fortunate to have been received without reluctance all his affection. And I've always admired the intelligence and ingenuity that characterized him. Thank you, Miguel, for allowing me to share life with you. Ahora en español. Me llamo Eduardo, pero todos me dicen Eddie. Yo era uno de los amigos cercanos de Miguel. Yo era su favorito de FYC, que es lo que le decía a todos cuando me presentaba. Siempre me encantó eso porque nunca dejamos llamarnos de esa manera. Miguel fue siempre y será mi residente. Yo recuerdo su primer día mudándose. El pasillo estaba casi vacío. Él vivía enfrente a la derecha de mi cuarto. Le di la bienvenida ese día. Probablemente hablamos por 2 o 3 horas y fue ese día que nuestra tradición empezó. Por el siguiente año, él entraba a mi cuarto y se sentaba en mi sillón y charlaba. Si hay algo cerca de Miguel, es que él no era una persona tímida o callada. Era una fuente de alegría. A veces almorzábamos juntos a las 7 de la mañana porque él era una persona muy ocupada, pero porque quería hacer esta escuela mejor para las generaciones por venir. Uno de los bills de nuestra junta de SGA fue introducir estaciones recargables de botellas de agua en los edificios de primer año, porque era algo que a él le encantaba. Y espero que podamos lograr esto antes de graduarnos. Esta vez su fuerza y su voluntad no le alcanzaron a Miguel. Se fue de vacaciones antes de lo que hubiese querido. Así se refirió a cáncer conmigo. Un hombre recio, criado en adversidad, es un claro ejemplo de esfuerzo y superación. Autodidacta, trabajador, amante del atardecer y de su familia. Nos deja un amargo sabor esta partida anticipada y va a ser muy difícil superar esta ausencia. Me sentí afortunado siempre de haber sido recibido sin reticencias, con todo su afecto, y siempre he admirado la inteligencia y el ingenio que lo caracterizó. Gracias, Miguel, por haberme permitido el compartir la vida contigo. Extraño tu sonrisa y descansa en paz, Miguelito.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ronnie. Miguel was elected to the Student Government Association in the fall of 2019. He was just a first year and had launched a campaign to be the representative for the class of 2023. This would mark the beginning of his time with the SGA, his rookie year, we can call it. In reality, Miguel was never truly a rookie, or at least never composed himself as one. At the onset of it all, he carried himself with poise, elegance, and authority. Nothing, and believe me, especially no one, like Dan DeTora, would get in the way of Miguel when it came to his projects and initiatives. From the beginning, he carved himself a seat at the table and demanded improvements for his peers, meeting, discussing, and even negotiating with the administrators. Truly, it was a sight to see. Miguel, after every meeting, and I mean every single meeting, would either ask me or text me if I had any of the inside scoop, tea, or gossip from the administration that week. I thought it was the funniest thing at the time because here we just finished our long-ass weekly meetings, and while everyone packed up their bags and left, he waited to ask me if I had any news. When we had time, we would go on our walk and talk about business, and he would proceed to ask me questions and ask for advice about his projects. I didn't realize it then, but in a very weird yet natural way, it was the beginning of a mentoring relationship. Fast forward 2 years, 2021. Miguel didn't know it, but I was getting ready to finally embrace the mentor role and prepare him for all of the excellent things he would have done with the role of SGA president. My biggest regret was that I was not able to be for Miguel what my mentor was for me. There was no doubt that in a year's time today, Miguel would have been the student body president, and I wanted to do everything in my power to make sure that he would be prepared, happy, and confident for the role. If I could go back, I would have told him how proud I was of him, how proud we are of him, tell him to pursue his passions and to be the next student body president of Middlebury College. Because he had everything and more to take the reins and make it his own. An unfettered amount of confidence, composure, creativity, and most importantly, an empathetic soul. It was never about him, but others. Miguel's legacy as a student leader will continue. The impact that he has had on us is unforgettable. At the beginning of the semester, the SGA decided to rename the Outstanding Student Leader Award after him. The description of it is rewritten as follows. The Miguel Sanchez-Tortoledo Outstanding Student Leader Award recognizes a junior or senior who has shown outstanding leadership during their Middlebury experience, much in the spirit of Miguel Sanchez-Tortoledo. Miguel, a prominent friend and member of the Student Government Association, carried himself with charm and grace as he advocated for the needs of his peers. This award will be given to a student that through innovation, motivation, initiative, and perseverance will have demonstrated a commitment to creating positive change on our campus, much like Miguel did. Para Juana y la familia de Miguel, su hijo tuvo un impacto extraordinario en nuestra escuela. Es imposible poder describirles cómo Miguel tuvo el poder de traer una sonrisa y felicidad a todos con cual se encontraba. Ha sido y continúa siendo un inmenso honor para poder haberlo llamado mi amigo. Que Dios lo bendiga y a ustedes también. To Miguel, we'll get those proposals passed the next time we cross paths. We miss you and we love you.
two of us. Hello, everyone. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to speak last, following all of these amazing people with their amazing memories. Jimmy and I am Eric. We met because of Miguel, so we thought it fitting to speak together and share some memories with you all.
So, I never dressed up for Halloween. That was just something I never did, primarily because my grandma, she thought it was the devil's holiday. So up until like my first opportunity to dress up, it was when I came here to Middlebury College. And my freshman year, Miguel tried to convince me to dress up, but I was way too shy. I was way too nervous. Sophomore year it came around, and this time I couldn't say no. Like he just didn't give up on me. So I told him I didn't have a costume. He didn't care. He told me I could wear his Santa costume. And I mean, he's like as tall as Adam. I'm like, it wasn't a good fit, but I still wore it anyways. I was still very, it was, it was something that was very memorable that I enjoyed because it was one of the first things that showed that I could do all these things and enjoy life, a more exciting life. He was actually the first person to take me out to a party too. My first party I ever attended was a Polana party, but that was only for about 5 minutes until I left. An actual first party I actually stayed for was like my sophomore year. Miguel was definitely one of those people that allowed me to embrace the fun side of Middlebury. He was somebody that really allowed me to enjoy the company of others.
Yes. Miguel loved to party. I think that was where he was at his best. You know, dancing, singing, hugging legitimately everybody. So I do have one specific memory of a party that was especially crazy. We were heading back. It was a cold night. We were at the grill to get fry chows, what was always Miguel's favorite and something that I'm sure he would miss today, should be brought back. And we were with one of his best friends, Isaac. And so we were at the grill and Isaac was nowhere to be found. We had been with him the whole night. And we were like, I was like, Miguel, have you seen Isaac? And I don't know, we were calling him, he wasn't picking up. We went to his room, he wasn't there. So we couldn't figure out how to get him, but we decided to go with a brute force approach, I guess, because we decided that the best way to find Isaac would be to knock on every single door in the middle of the night and ask people if they had found Isaac. And I said, Miguel, this might not be the best idea, you know, people might come out and say, hello, I didn't appreciate you waking me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. But Miguel was Miguel, and without fail, everybody who came out was like a little bit grumpy, like, oh, what's up? Oh, Miguel. No, I haven't seen Isaac, but do you want to come in? Like, do you want to hang out for a few hours? The moral of the story, I guess, if it had been anybody else, I would have let everyone get their good night's sleep, but because it was Miguel, it ended up being one of our favorite memories.
So I was really nervous to meet him to begin with. One of the things that I knew he had was Coca-Cola, and that was because I saw him taking it up to his room. And I thought this was like one of the key things I could use to sort of meet him. I wanted to meet him specifically, not Adam, because I had Adam for French class, and he sat like to the right of me, and he never looked at me. And I know he knew that I was his neighbor, but he never looked at me, so I was kind of scared of him. So I moved over. I went next door, and I would like knock on his door, and I would be like, "Hey, you have a Coca-Cola?" And that was basically like my way to like hang out with him for a bit of time. And that went on for a bit up until I finished up his Coca-Cola. And he told me like, hey, you want to go on a ride and pay for my new like pack of Coca-Cola? And I was like, all right, yeah, sure. Like, I guess I just like owe you that. And we would go off on rides. It was when they had Zip Car. It was when they had like the Zip Car around campus. And we would go off, go to Hannaford's, buy him a pack. And honestly, that was like one of my favorite things to do freshman year. One, because I got Coca-Cola since we have Pepsi on campus. But And it was just like a good time to really just like enjoy some one-on-one time with him and sort of, I don't know, talk about anything. It was like one of my favorite memories to really have with him.
Yes, Jimmy, I'm glad that you bring up memories formed in the car because some of my very best memories with Miguel were formed in the car that the beloved Rosa, which has now been passed on to Adam, so Rosa lives on. We would always listen to Taylor, Beyonce, Olivia Rodrigo, all of his favorites. I can still never listen to Driver's License or Love on Top without hearing Miguel try to hit those key changes at the end. But so if there was one thing that Miguel was known for, I would say that it was probably his smile, his laugh, his presence. But if there were a second thing, it would probably be that he was a diehard Cutco salesman. And I was honored to have Miguel visit me in Florida and meet my family, but we have plenty of knives. I was very clear before he arrived that we do not need any knives. Do not try to sell them to my mom because she'll probably feel bad and buy them. But he was very generous, so he actually gave my mom some knives for free just because he loved these knives so much. But in a way, I knew his generosity all too well because if you were to ask any of my friends, they would probably tell you that Miguel and I fought quite a bit. Looking back, I'm not sure why Miguel and I butted heads so often, but maybe because we were so similar. There was one fight that I remember. Miguel and I had gone out to dinner, and I was in a rush because I was on duty. I had to get back, and I said, Miguel, here's my card, or like, I'll Venmo you. So we get back, and he sends me my bill, and he had decided to give the waitress a massive tip. And I was really pissed because I didn't agree to pay that much, but I'm still, earning that money back. But I think that represents what Miguel was. He didn't hold back. He never second-guessed his bold passion for things. He was larger than life, and maybe I could learn from his generosity. Thank you guys all so much for coming. I know he would have really appreciated seeing everyone.
Yeah, we hope that this all sparked a memory you had of Miguel. Thank you all for coming. Really appreciate it.
We now have a PowerPoint of memories for you all.
We just needed T Swift playing in the background. We'll add that. Thank you for putting that together. In a recent phone conversation with Juana, Miguel's mother, she told me that she had just returned from visiting his graveside, where she visits most every day and once a week to bring fresh flowers and LED tea lights. She sent a couple of photos as we were talking, and they were so colorful, so beautiful. Noticeably, amidst all the flowers were several small statues of angels, sitting, wings spread, words like joy written on them, in a most touching and comforting place to be laid to rest. It occurred to me that not only are those angels attending to Miguel, but in a way, his spirit is also attending all of us. We've heard instances of that this evening. So with that in mind, I would like to read this Blessing of Angels by John O'Donohue in his book, To Bless the Space Between Us, thinking of Miguel in that way. May the angels in their beauty bless you. May they turn toward you streams of blessing. May the angel of awakening stir your heart to come alive to the eternal within you, to all the invitations that quietly surround you. May the angel of healing turn your wounds into sources of refreshment. May the angel of the imagination enable you to stand on the true thresholds, at ease with your ambivalence and drawn in new directions through the glow of your contradictions. May the angel of compassion open your eyes to the unseen suffering around you. May the angel of wildness disturb the places where your life is domesticated and safe. Take you to the territories of true otherness, where all that is awkward in you can fall into its own rhythm. May the angel of Eros introduce you to the beauty of your senses, to celebrate your inheritance as a temple of the Holy Spirit. May the angel of justice disturb you to take the side of the poor and the wronged. May the angel of encouragement confirm you in worth and self-respect, that you may live with the dignity that presides in your soul. May the angel of death arrive only when your life is complete, and you have brought every given gift to the threshold where its infinity can shine. May all the angels be your sheltering and joyful guardians. Let us now hold a moment of silence between and among us as we remember Miguel one final time. Gracias, thank you. At the conclusion of the benediction, we ask that all remain seated briefly while the family departs down the aisle to attend the reception. And with that said, now hear this good word, this benediction. Let us part from this place as from every fleeting moment that is a life, with gratitude and grace, grateful for what we have experienced of Miguel, graceful in our remembrance of him and how that extends to others. May we be watched over by our love for one another. Go in peace.